a lot of that is about just being able to identify as much as you can understand about the members, having the data in a place that it's easily accessible. You can have the best tech in the world. You can have the best vendors. You can have everything the way that you would ultimately like it, but you can't go any faster than the quality and the state of your data.
Organizational change is always challenging, and that difficulty often scales faster than the organization being changed. Today, we're speaking with Mike Daum, the newly appointed CMO of Sacramento, California's Golden One Credit Union. Mike shares with us his perspective on coming into the organization, not only as a new employee, but also as a newcomer to credit unions. He shares what struck him most about the culture, his agenda for change, and what the most impactful levers he can pull at one of the country's largest credit unions. Mike, thanks for being with us today.
You got it, Rich. Thanks for having me.
So you're in a unique situation. You're in a top 10 credit union from an asset size standpoint, and one that only has a state level charter. So I believe field of membership is only the state of California, correct?
Correct. Californians, those who live or work in California are eligible. So we've got
So,
about, about 41 million potential members that we have in the state of California.
I mean, big state, but still only one state. I mean, biggest economy in the country, but still only one state, but unique to be kind of at that size and scale. And you're relatively new in the role, just starting what I believe in February of this year. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. February of this
Okay.
year.
So just tell us a little bit about your background kind of coming into this role, maybe how you're thinking about it coming into it. What's going to be unique that you kind of bring to the table, not having grown up in this institution, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all the product of our experience and our history and our background. I had the privilege of spending several decades with two major, well-respected financial brands, mission focused, both national in scale or larger in scale, but also very intimate in terms of their ability to reach out and help to do financial education and financial advice. And when this opportunity with Golden One came up, you've been around since 1933, serving all of California, well respected, well trusted, primarily concentrated in San Joaquin Valley and Sacramento as far as geography is concerned, but so much opportunity in other parts of the state. It was just a great opportunity for me to be able to take the experiences that I had had in my prior history in marketing and branding in financial institutions and be able to bring them to Golden One as a credit union. And so the credit union business was very new to me. And so that has just been an amazing and very refreshing at this point in my career. The collegial aspect of how the credit unions partner together, the shared number of vendors and third parties that credit unions work with, and that legacy focus on helping communities and helping their members thrive I couldn't have asked for more from that standpoint. And so it's really been a great opportunity for me and a great chance for me to be able to use the history of my experience and what I've done in the past and bring it into a new venue in a place that's really appreciates and is looking to grow and thrive for our members across California.
So your previous experience was all in banks, correct?
I was, previous I was with USAA, so serving the military community in a very
Mhm.
mission focused environment. And before that, I was with KeyBank in regional and national marketing roles as well. So more
But
traditional banking categories or traditional banking environments versus a credit union.
first time in a credit union, first time in this kind of nonprofit situation. So
Absolutely.
what, now almost, 2, 3 quarters into this, what has kind of struck you about that? Or what was maybe a thing that jumped out at you kind of stepping into this role as one of the chiefs,
Yeah.
that you didn't see before? I know there's the attitudinal aspects and things about, but what are the things maybe you see like from a day-to-day standpoint that just like it's something maybe nobody else sees, right? The whole what
Yeah.
is water type situation.
Yeah. I think the main piece is just you have this shared vision and mission around serving the community. At the same time, you're also trying to serve the financial needs of the people who live in the community to make sure that they're thriving. And the opportunity to balance those two together become very interchangeable. And so you're doing good for the credit union while doing good for the community in a way that's much different than if you're in a publicly traded environment, for instance, or if you're in a different type of culture or a different type of background. So that part's really been fantastic. And the fact, the way that the people all kind of come together and having the chance to work with a diverse group of folks from a lot of backgrounds, different experiences, different industries. There's a value in the idea of being scrappy, right? Because you're trying to do good and do things quickly and trying to foster growth, but you're trying to do it in a way that you don't maybe not have the resources of a large institution, but you've got the support and the mission and the intent of somebody that's really trying to do good and scale. And so scalability and the ability to be able to be more agile is has been a great challenge that I've really appreciated in the role.
So coming in from the outside into a position like this, a lot of times people will find that there's an element of you're there to be a change agent. You're the person that's coming from the outside to bring a different perspective, a different set of skills, a different scope of maybe what the organization's been doing before. Is that part of your agenda, part of what you're doing now? Like are you there to really be a change agent, or are you there more to kind of sustain a legacy or sustain a path of success that the organization's been on already?
Yeah, it's really the ask that I or the challenge that I was given and offered to take this opportunity was really around helping to modernize the marketing function here, not only in terms of just the overall look and the way that our brand is presented, and we've made some great strides on what's already an amazing brand and a very well respected and trusted brand across the state of California and within the credit union industry, but also to modernize kind of how things operate behind the scenes. And so, in my role, our team has responsibility for community relations, communications, the MarTech stack, our overall marketing, build and delivery, and our brand. And so in this day and age, right, in a world of content, in a world of personalization, in a world of, tech, it's really important that all those pieces are working together because that's the way the consumer sees the credit union. And so that's really been my challenge, is to really work really closely with an amazing team and bring that all together in a way that we can integrate those experiences and integrate those outcomes so that we put ourselves forward in the marketplace in a way that has the greatest effect and the greatest impact. But I think it's also important to respect, again, nearly 100 years of progress and development and contribution that Golden One Credit Union has made to bettering the financial lives of Californians, and really respect. And you're building upon that. You're not there to just disrupt and change things for the sake of change and disruption. You're there to take something that's great and help to make it great for the next 100 years.
So I want to dig into that a little bit from a plan standpoint, what you see. But
Sure.
but one thing, just to kind of pick its scope a little bit, your what you have underneath there, like does member experience, does that exist somewhere else within the organization?
Yeah, we look at it from the standpoint that member experience is everyone's,
Mhm.
responsibility. So it just depends on the lens that you're focused in on in your scope. So we have a chief digital officer that's, we partner with, and we're focused in on the end to end digital funnel, right? So I've got responsibility for bringing in quality engagements into digital and creating quality experiences in the storefronts. The digital officer has responsibility for making sure when people start an action or if they're engaging or transacting that's a good experience for them as well. Same in retail, same in product. And so we really all partner together and kind of treat experience as everybody's job versus having it in an isolated area as well. But I'd also say, Rich, too, it's an area that we're continuing to get better at. So as we get more tools and capabilities, we're getting more insights and we're getting more intelligence and we're getting more data on our members and their experiences. And so we're really working to mature that as well so that we can get better and we can improve, particularly in this environment of AI and machine learning. There's so many opportunities for you to use those automations for good to improve the experiences that your members or your prospective members have. And so that's really a great opportunity for us that we're embracing.
So just to talk about the organization a little bit more and kind of delineation, because
Yeah.
a lot of times you look at things as, the for lack of a better term, the institutional friction that happens, particularly when there's change going on, right? And when that goes across organizational boundaries, that's not something that's conducive to being quick or agile a lot of times. But so you said the credit union has a chief digital officer. Is there a separate chief information officer as well?
Yeah, we have it basically set up with the way that it's organized. We have chief officers of technology, digital, retail, marketing, strategy, etc. But if you were operating, if you had a chance to kind of sit in my chair for a day or walk in my shoes for a day, you would not necessarily see these bright lines in terms of
Mhm.
the way that the division ends up happening because fortunately the way that the credit union has evolved over time, the groups just work really seamlessly together. And so there's not separate agendas. There's not, it's, we know we have one plan. We have one list of initiatives. We have one list of investments. We share a lot of infrastructure with vendors that do things for different parts of the organization. And so we've been really intelligent about trying to make sure that those are all done with effect so that we're getting the most out of them for the best investment that we could make in those, capabilities. And so that really helps us because then again, we really see things very clearly. And I think that that's a benefit of being our size is that we're large enough that we can operate that way, but we're small enough that we can operate that way, if that makes sense.
So from an investment standpoint, do you operate like a PMO model? Is that like an organization that you have? And where does that sit?
Yeah, we have an enterprise PMO that manages kind of the overarching portfolio and the work that we're doing. And then at the technology level, we also have like our IT teams because of the nature of that, right? Because you have a combination of grow investments as well as maintain investments that you need to make to run the operation. We've got that as kind of a subset as well. And again, very transparent, very integrated in terms of the way that we operate.
And just for a scope, I think looking at your annual report from last year, your technology budget was a little bit more than $30 million. So that's seems like that's kind of the scope of what this is.
Eh,
Um, i- Interesting. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing it, and it's
Yes.
how to pull that off. A lot of times, maybe even more so than the actual amount of resources you have, whether that's dollars or headcount or whatever. A lot of times, that has a much bigger factor on at least speed, if not overall success. So it's interesting you kind of talking about the importance of the cultural aspects of this. So let's talk about Martech because you said that's squarely in your wheelhouse for what you do. How are you looking at that now, and where are you thinking really the kind of opportunity is? And then the follow up is going to be build versus buy, but let me hear your kind of
Yeah.
all over the world view of it. So
Yeah, first of all, I am blessed for two reasons coming into the role. One, we have a phenomenal Martech team and a great partnership across tech and digital and the different key players that ends up happening. So, in the CMO role, usually the two biggest challenges you have are talent and appetite. So, the second piece is that our leadership from the board to the CEO to the senior leadership team are all very much behind evolving what we're doing from a marketing technology perspective because they see and have seen the value and they want us to continue to evolve. And so where my head is really has been around, the fronts of how do we get more insightful in what we're doing, personalization, being such a key aspect as well. So when we're thinking about where we're investing in the next tools that we're putting on board, I think about those two things. Does this help me with data and insights to be able to expand what we're doing to reach more members more effectively or deepen relationships or activate relationships we have? And then from a personalization standpoint, how can I do more of the delight that the fintechs are able to provide because they built from the ground up? And they really set new standards for what expectations are in our category in terms of experiences as well. And then the third aspect being scalability. So how can I take those things and scale them, which probably leads into your question around build versus buy.
well, but more so from like what your history is, right? Or you kind of look at there's two camps, and rarely is it one or the other, right? But there's one side that says, look, we really don't mess with things that we don't build ourselves because we don't trust it, or we at least believe our requirements to be so bespoke that there's nothing in the market that does it. And so there's an investment in that capability, which is skills and process and technology and many other things from a culture standpoint. And the other side is we're going to find best of breed in the market and, really be good at research and vendor selection and then implied integration on that stance. But the vendor management is a big part of it. And it's always some of one and the other, right? There's always a mix in there from the whole
Absolutely.
thing. But maybe where do you see you are today, and do you see that changing at all?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both for us, and so I think the idea is around, speed, the efficiency, what's the overall impact. An example I would give you is on the credit card side. So we've been really looking to expand our ability to be able to put credit card offers out there, particularly in things like pre-select, for instance. And so I know from my history that is one of the most complex and complicated and needing to be well controlled promotions or campaigns that you're going to run is going to be a pre-select or a pre-approved credit card campaign. We've just executed our first one in several years working with a third party. And what that third party brought was a lot of the process to expedite the pulling of the list and the credit bureau activities, the staging of the promotion. So we spent more time focusing in on getting the messaging right and getting the audience right and making sure we had the right criteria and we're putting our best foot forward from a branding perspective. And then from that standpoint, helping us to do some of the things that, frankly, for us, it would be really hard for us to justify that expense of having to try to in-house all of those components, just given the nature that there's somebody out there that does it at scale, that can do it for multiple credit unions or institutions and do it likely executed better than we would be able to do ourselves in a mature state. And so that gets us to market faster. It helps us maintain the controls and the risk and then it also preserves the member experience because we're also getting the intelligence of somebody that's been doing this and, has the ability to be able to have the experience of working with other FIs that they can provide and apply to what they're doing for us. And so that's kind of one end of the scale. On the other end, from a build perspective for us, we're thinking about things like some of our personalization tools, some of our abilities to be able to do lead management, for instance. Those are the components that we're looking to bring in-house because those become something that you want your teams to be able to be utilizing every day, right? So they're building it, they're also executing against it as well, and it gives them the chance to do real-time optimization, to do real-time, exploration in terms of performance. And so that's where you kind of get the difference in terms of like considering each of the different opportunities based on what do they bring to the table for you and how is that going to help you to be able to reach more members that you're trying to change their financial lives.
So to what extent does a lot of what you're doing become, if not dependent, at least like a heavy component of it is like first party data? Like you're kind of looking at your own operations, your customer interaction, everything that's kind of tied into that. How much of that is, percentage of projects or whatever, or, where your budget's going? Like how much does that kind of permeate what you're doing?
It's a big component for us. We actually have a data strategy work stream that's underway in our strategy department across the Golden One Credit Union. And a lot of that is about just being able to identify as much as you can understand about the members, having the data in a place that it's easily accessible. You hear about kind of the democratization of data and the ability to be able to utilize it, for good. And so a lot of that work I think is going to help us but you have to also think about that from a staging perspective, because in my opinion or my experience, you can have the best tech in the world. You could have the best vendors. You can have everything the way that you would ultimately like it, but you can't go any faster than the quality and the state of your data. And so we're trying to parallel path that by building out and doing some work to get our data strategy to an ideal place or a target state, while we're also building the infrastructure so that we can move quickly as that comes on board.
So we've talked a lot about the navel gazing inside view of the bank. Let's talk a little bit about the outside, because I know one of the
Yeah.
things that you've said is brand management. It's a very big part of what you do. I know one of your major initiatives is you have uh, arena rights, right, for Sacramento Kings, the
Yeah.
NBA franchise that's local. How else do you think about that, or how else are you thinking of that as far as this idea of you're trying to obviously grow and increase the presence and relevance of Golden One in in your market.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Golden One Center and the partnership with the Sacramento Kings is definitely a feather in our cap and has been a huge, boost for our brand, nationally as well as across California. And obviously came at a really critical time in Sacramento and in this region as far as something that's really a part of the fabric of life of folks that are Kings fans and folks that live in this area as well. Where we're really looking now is that how do we take some of that same goodness and port it into other markets or geographies in the state of California as well. We can't do an arena in every town, and we're very loyal to the Kings and to the Golden One Center. But we're thinking about our branch network and our physical locations. We've got obviously an expansive ATM network that we have as well. But we're thinking more about how we start to think about segmentation, think about micro markets and targeted geographies. State of California is a big state. It's an expensive state to market in some of the larger, metropolitan areas as well. So that's again where our Martech and our targeting abilities really come into play because it helps us be able to try to find and meet our existing members and meet our prospective members that we think would be interested in doing business with us and the communities that we want to serve across the state as well. And so it's really a balancing act to think about where we want to invest and how we want to build that brand.
So is physical branch expansion, is that like part of your plan? Is it go faster, go slower? Like how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we've done a lot of analysis recently about that as well. And especially in a post COVID environment, where in the COVID environment, everything was about making sure that people were safe, making sure that they had access to be able to do business with you. And obviously, we also do things where we want to make sure that we've got a physical presence in the communities that we're serving, regardless of the nature of the community or the geography. And so we have found that there is a lot of value in the quality of the relationships that we get in the branch network. There's obviously the brand value of having well-placed physical branch locations as well. And from a mission perspective, again, what makes credit unions different, an example for us, Rich, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Sacramento area. There's a community called El Paso Heights where we almost a year ago, opened up a financial resource center. It is a wonderful community of folks that are trying to help to rebuild and to emphasize financial education and prosperity for the community of Del Paso Heights. And we put this financial resource center in there for a couple of reasons. One was to satisfy a gap that they had in access to banking and credit union support. But the other one is we spend time face to face giving financial advice and education in this location for free to residents, community groups. We made a substantial multi-million dollar investment in the communities there as well. That's again another example of what makes Golden One different and what makes credit unions different. Making a decision to put a physical location in that environment was mission focused and also good business for us as well. And so we look at those things holistically. So we're looking for opportunities to grow our retail network where it makes sense for us, but then we're also looking for opportunities to grow our physical presence in communities where we feel like we can make a difference.
So I'll ask you one more question here as you kind of get into this, phase of having made an assessment and you're kind of getting the plans on the ground and everything. What have you found to be the hard part? What's the difficult part, or maybe the part that maybe it won't have the biggest impact, but the thing that's requiring the most effort and maybe the most personal oversight by yourself, meaning the thing that's kind of consuming either your time or, the brain power that's going into it.
Yeah. Which I would say it's, you could look at it as the hard part, but I would look at it as the most gratifying part, which is, uh, we have an amazing marketing and community relations and communications team. And so I can never spend as much time with them as I would like to. So the obligations and responsibilities I have in the kind of day to day in terms of being part of the leadership team here and helping to build out our strategies and help to do what we aim to do from a mission and a vision perspective, and then bounce that out with really been working a lot around how we're organizationally aligned, how we make sure that we're future proofing the team and their careers by making sure that they're getting the skills and capabilities that they're going to need down the road in this really evolving marketing and communications landscape. And so I think the hard part is just that balancing act of making sure that I'm spending enough time with my team and that we're able to, spend that quality time together to build not only culturally, but also from a skills perspective, while at the same time, the day to day, less fun stuff that you have of being, in a position like mine in a senior leadership position at the credit union.
Yeah, meetings, 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 right? You know.
Yeah. That another way. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Mike, this is a really interesting story. Thanks for sharing with us. I know this is kind of a unique point in time story of, both the history of the credit union and where you are in your career. And we'll probably want to come back and just kind of see how it's turned
Anytime.
out and how your opinion has changed. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, Mike, if anybody wants to learn more about you or what Golden One's doing, where can they get more information?
Yeah, absolutely. Golden1.com obviously is the best place to find information about what's happening with the credit union. And then for me personally, I try to stay as active as possible on LinkedIn. And so I'm always happy to engage with folks. And it's also a great resource for me as well. And again, one of the other great things about the credit unions is I have a chance to talk to CMOs from other credit unions and growth leaders and digital leaders as well. So it's great. I try to take some of the lessons I learned and be able to share those out in LinkedIn and other forums as well, so that we can all do better, right? Financial services should be helping to better the financial futures of everybody, regardless of competition and any other factors. And so, it's one of the gratifying parts of being in the chair that I sit.
And we'll include links to that in the show notes below. Mike, thanks again for sharing with us today.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate the time.